One of the very cool things that you can do with Battery is it has multiple outputs. So you can actually route your drums to individual tracks or channels so that you can control their volume, their panning, processing, etc. separately from the whole. I always tend to recommend just programming your drums on one track. It doesn't impede the creative process. And when you're kind of done and you feel like it's time to mix this thing, you start to think about, okay, how many tracks do I need in order to have individual outputs for my drums? I have a kick, I have a snare, I have a hi-hat, and I have a, I don't even know what it's called anymore. Kind of a little thing here. Goes like, wow, crash, no, that thing. So I have a total of 4 drums, not counting the host track, which will ultimately become for me my kick. I'm going to make 3 more mono instrument tracks. So these are going to be for my snare, hi-hat, and percussive element. Okay, so I'm going to change this to be called kick. And this will all come together. Snare, hi-hat. We'll just call it a perk. All right. So for this, you have to see the instrument column. You have to see the I/O column. If you don't see those columns, you can customize them so that you can see them and bring them up by clicking on this white little arrow here. And if you see here, it says battery MIDI in. So it's important to know that. And ultimately, we're not going to worry about that too much because we're not actually taking MIDI data from any other track except this one. But we are going to route the output of Battery to the input of each of our subsequent tracks. So let's go to Battery. And if I press play, so I see kick, snare, and hi-hat. I'm going to leave my kick alone because it's coming out the main out 1 and 2. I'm going to control click on my snare, go to output, and make it 3/4. I mean, if I really wanted to do this properly, I would say, okay, kick drum, you're going out 1 and 2, but the master is 1 and 2, so it doesn't really matter. All right. So I no longer hear the snare drum anymore because it's been told to go somewhere else. I'm going to control click on my closed hi-hat, and I'm going to go to direct out 5 and 6. And then I'm going to go to this thingamajig, and I'm going to go output 7, 8. So now, if I press play, all I'm going to hear is this kick drum. They're still playing, I just don't hear them. Then we go over to our snare track. We go to the input. Remember, what we're doing is we're kind of connecting this virtual cable from the output, various outputs, the multiple outputs of Battery, connecting them to the input so that we can hear it of our instrument track. So when I click on no input, I'm going to go down to plugin, Battery insert A, 3/4. Now I should hear my snare drum. Now notice that my kick drum was brought down, or my overall drum track had been down by 3, almost 4 dB. So if I want it to sound pretty much the same, I would need to get, in that ballpark. Otherwise, these are going to sound loud. Come over here for my hi-hat, plug-in, Battery 5, 6. It shows you which ones are used. Battery plug-in 7, 8. And notice we're not doing anything to this one because it is the host, it is the master, it is 1 and 2. So again, we didn't have to assign that to 1 and 2 because it was already kind of there. So now, even though we only have MIDI data on one track, we're going to see our sounds across all the tracks in terms of their VUs, and we're going to hear all of them soon. Okay. Now, why do we do this? So we have control over the volume. I can say, hey, I want that snare drum, but I don't want to bring everything up. I like to pan, for example, my hi-hats off to the left a little bit. Some people do it to the right. Maybe balance it off with the percussive element off to the right a little bit. Bring my volume down. Okay, and here's another little tidbit, because I actually don't like that. It's too long. These two aren't exactly on beat. So I just want this piece to play. So I'm going to actually trim this end of the sample down so it doesn't play these parts. All right. So there's another little thing you can do and have fun with it. Very cool instrument. We'll talk more about it. Enjoy it.